I only want to be with the ones who burn, burn, burn. One's in love with the night, they light up like a cigarette. I only want to be with the ones who burn, burn, burn. One's with fire in their soul, little or nothing to forget. Wanting romance, I'm feeding the fire. I'm looking for poetry, searching for desire. I'm praying for God, begging for gin. I'm looking for goodness, living for sin. I'm walking around heaven, diamond dust on my shoes. All the angels are naked, singing the blues. I got a copy of Lolita, just in case
I graduated from high school, and I knew that I had to get a job to save money to go to college. So a friend of mine's father was a manager in a shipyard, Hendry Shipyard in Tampa. He got me a job, and I showed up the first day and figured out that basically my job was to scoop mud out of the bottom of barges. And a barge, if you don't know, is designed, it's a sealed floating thing that they take out into the Gulf of Mexico to use to hold materials or dredges or whatever they're doing, and there's no way to get inside of the barge, so they would bring them into the docks, and they would have to cut a hole in the deck of the barge, and the guy who worked with me was too big to fit through the holes that they would cut, so I was the only person going down to scoop mud out of the bottom. So they would send me down into the hull, or I should say hell. It was darker than I even knew about. It was blacker than I knew exists. If you wonder what a blind person sees, it's the bottom and the hull of a barge. And it's hot beyond anything you can imagine, and water will have seeped in through the seams over a period of time. That's where the mud comes from. So it's so hot that the water will actually condense on the top and then drip down as hot water on you while you're carrying a bucket around and walking down these little pathways, filling it up with mud, lifting it up to get the mud out of it so they can seal it back up and use the barge again. In the middle of this god-awful thing, and I've probably only been there for about 2 weeks, the band that I was playing in, the Ravens, we received a letter offering us a job playing in Grand Bahama Island. And I thought, oh my God, I am going from the worst job in the whole world to the very best job in the whole world. It turned out to be the other way around. It was just completely terrible. To begin with, Grand Bahama Island was being developed right then. In Freeport, where we were playing, we were offered the job at Maria's Italian Cafe, and they were building the first of the casinos in Freeport. And Freeport is on one end of Grand Bahama Island, and West End is obviously on the west end of the island. We got to the airport, it was a three-piece band, and realized we had forgotten our guitars. So I had to come back home to get the two guitars while the drummer and guitar player, I was playing bass, while they flew on to Freeport. By the time that I arrived, every other flight they would alternate between West End and Freeport. My flight then obviously flew into West End, and I got there, and the keys to the two guitar cases were in the pocket of the guitar player. So I arrived with two guitar cases that I couldn't get unlocked. I couldn't understand anything that the Bahamian police would say because they sounded like the Beatles to me, and I was such a hick that they couldn't understand me either. For some reason, they were sure that I was sneaking guns into the Bahamas, where guns are illegal. So I was arrested in West End and had to sit there, and finally one of the guys came in with an axe. He was just about to hack open our guitar cases when a clearer thinking Bahamian policeman came in with a hairpin and picked the lock. And, you know, he saw the guitars. I got a taxi into Freeport and went straight to Maria's Italian Cafe. The job was just terrible. 90% of the population at that time was British construction workers building the casinos. They had lots and lots and lots of money and nothing to spend it on, so they would go to Maria's and drink until they couldn't sit up, and they would fight and demand that we play Wooly Bully over and over all night. One of the highlights, I was in the manager's office trying to get paid in the middle of the first week, already thinking about the idea of getting to go home. And a fire dancer had come in to audition, and she brought her drummer boyfriend with her, and she was talking to the manager trying to get the job, and I thought that she was auditioning by telling the manager. I wasn't sure that's what she was saying because I don't know what language that she spoke, but I saw her act that night, and that is what she was saying, and I was reasonably entertained, so it was kind of the highlight of the trip up until then. And her act basically consisted mostly of dragging fat, bald-headed men on stage and humiliating them in front of whoever was with them. And I had seen one pretty young girl on the island, and I was sure that I would get to meet this girl if I was lucky at all. And she was there that night, and as I watched this act, and you know, her drummer boyfriend played along, I edged closer to the stage because I was greatly entertained, and I felt completely immune to the circumstances because I thought, she's never going to run out of fat old bald-headed men, you know, why would she pick on somebody like me? She picked on me, she dragged me up on stage, she humiliated me unbelievably for what seemed like hours, but it was probably like 30 seconds or something like that. But I was aware that the pretty young girl who was there in the audience that night with her parents was not going to have anything to do with me. We finished the week, and they wanted to sign us for a second week to stay, and we made up a lie about illness and managed to get a flight to go home. And it's my only real trip to the Bahamas.
That's a great story. What year was that?
1965.
1965. Wow, that's awesome.
It lost love lonely told. Lonely just like you are. And I thought this heart would break. These memories that haunt my soul.
But nobody paid a bit of attention to music. There were like 3 people, you know. One guy came up to me and said,
I've cried more tears in the last few years than I have since I was a kid.
God, this is great.
I tear this heart out of my chest, but you